Damn it.
Ain't life a
Don't bring that up.
Hey, we're live.
We're getting off to an interesting start tonight. My name is Lou Jensen, and this has got to be the strangest bunch that have hangouts anywhere, right? I think so. We're all crazy, right, to begin with, so that kind of gets us an introduction.
They emptied out the facilities with all the padded rooms.
Yeah, and they gave us all a free pass, so get out of the jail card.
Yep.
We're playing tonight with a concept that started in 1983. We're artists working on the business of artistic creative efforts and artistic business association. So it's kind of an idea that we've been doing Hangouts for 8 years already, long before Google came along and opened up this door. And we got started really early with Google Plus and been playing with it ever since. But we get together every Wednesday and talk about the business of art sessions. And all of these people in the film strip, and most who are watching, if you're watching over on YouTube or on my Google Plus account, you kind of will get the feeling fairly quickly. We've been a company since 1983. And we've had about, well, over 50 million in sales, and we've had people who buy a package of teaching them how to start a hobby and try and turn that hobby then into a business. And the concept's fairly unique in the marketplace, except it's quite a good business model. If you think about the fact that most businesses got started in someone's garage, in their basement, in the spare bedroom, something, and they fiddle around with it more or less as a hobby. They usually don't do it unless they enjoy doing it and like doing it. And then they figure out how to make a buck with it, and bam, all of a sudden now it turns into a regular business. So the pattern, the process from A to B, your assets world over to better, to me seems really reasonable here. My own story, I don't, everyone's heard it 9,000 times, but there's always someone who has not a clue who Dr. Lou really is. And we're coming up on my anniversary. It'll be my 39th year in April this year, just the Saturday before Easter. And I stumbled onto carbon eggshells with a dental drill, which is just about the dumbest idea anybody ever had. The least valuable product on the face of the earth is a frickin' eggshell, except I've turned it into a fortune. And when I try and help beginners get this idea that there really is potential here, both for just fun and satisfaction, there's just practically nothing better than working with a hobby that you like doing, something you enjoy doing right from the beginning, and you pursue that hobby enough to the point that it actually can start paying you some money. My first art show was Park City, and I did $3,400 worth of carved eggshells and sold them in 2 days. And I was just hooked. I was hooked from then on because I had an absolute ball doing it, and I made enough to really justify the time and the energy, and so I lucked out. The very first thing I did, I had no idea what I was doing. I'd never done an event yet. But in the 38 years, I've done well over 1,000 events. I've really worked hard at it for a long time. And mostly because I just absolutely enjoy it. There may be a psychiatrist listening tonight that I visited with a couple of days ago that's from Seattle area, and we had such a good visit. We met at some show years ago, and he still got my little coin that I had to carve with me with the leaves patterns on it, and I did thousands of those stupid demonstrations over the years, and they usually set the hook pretty hard because he says, I took that coin home and I've never forgotten it. That moment just really hit me hard, and when I get ready to retire from my psychiatric doctoring career, he says, I'm going to go play with Lou and the whole idea. And there's an awful lot of you that have done that very same idea, that followed that same concept. He wants to build custom guitars and do drop-dead gorgeous artwork on it, and we just happen to have a little gathering of perhaps the best in the world that do that. If you're going to do regular wood carving, we think we've got just about the best in the world that do that. And our package consistently includes this, moving from making the stuff to marketing the stuff. It's anyone can learn to make the stuff. It's the marketing where every artistic ever gets stuck, and or it levels out. You do fairly well, and then you just can't break that ceiling. You can't get up into where it's paying you enough to literally justify keep doing it. So everyone within the sound of my voice tonight, what you're looking for most is the tools and the expertise to help you change your marketing approach. That you start realizing that if I market things a little differently, I might have better results. Marketing to me is, the comparison is fishing. There's just almost nothing that gets any better than that. And fishing for a shotgun effect of just catching whatever or going after the big fish is the difference that we're talking about. I've done the same webinar now for 8 years, and the webinar session is 5 sessions. We're into the 3rd one. We did the 3rd one last night, and now we're having a lab where we talk about it with our people that are members. We've got several masters in the green room and in the film strip tonight, and so we want to kind of visit about what we talked about. Where are these people? Where are the rich? And how can we begin to kind of approach them? Because if you don't know where the pond is and you don't know how to throw in which pond to catch what, the odds are practically zero that you're going to catch what you're after. I think that makes sense. I think that's, people can kind of understand. Tam just got on with us. She snuck in here and got in. Can you... Tam Marie's the owner of Proper Hobbies, and she's jumped in here with us now. So say hello to everybody, Tam Marie.
Hi. Good evening.
Good evening, Tam.
Got her here. So.
Hi, Tam Marie.
Hi. How is everybody?
Oh, we're just doing awesome.
Good.
Henri.
Awesome. They let Mel
Who
out of
said
jail.
was Henri?
Henri. Who's Henri? Mel is Henri.
Mel, is that you?
Yeah, that's me.
For anybody new, we know each other, all of us, and we have a pretty good time. We know each other enough to be dangerous. That's the part of the problem. So how long have we been wrestling with art and marketing, Tam Marie?
30-something years.
The entire length of the business, haven't we?
Always.
Oh, it just kills me when it's hard, because people think they know how to fish until they actually give it a try. And the only explanation I have is a producer has to learn how to trade their work or starve to death. There's no in between in business, in the marketplace. The economy is ruthless to those that don't know what they're doing. And if all your life you've been a consumer and all you've life is lived on a paycheck, which is 97% of the humanity, the 3% know how to trade, the 97% are pretty soft at it. And therein lies the battlegrounds. The second you come along and say, oh yeah, I've been buying gas at the gas station forever, I know what it's like to own a gas station, you're making a really, really serious miscalculation. So where we start is right where we are now, talking about how can you see things a little differently. And so far, I'd like comments on the show last night of do you begin to sense and understand how important in the long run of your business it is to find an extremely good, well-off person who is then your patron? I mean, Tony Swarton and Buster Winsky and all of Gil Hibben, every one of them have had somebody that they finally connected with that just lit their fire. And so you say, well, I'll go try that and see what I can pull off, and then you never ever find it. At least you made an effort to try and target that. And I think targeting actually works. What's anybody else want to start off the conversation tonight? Won't everybody speak up at once? I gotta blow the
Well, when
blow the lid off this. Joni, you laughed. How did you how did you think things were? Did you see anything last night that made sense to you?
Well, yes, I did, but I also know that, and I go right back to the same thing, that how do I get to meet them? How do I find out where they are? And
Okay.
I'm determined to do it, but I'm fishing.
Still struggling, huh?
Yeah.
Anybody else in that same category? What do you think, Ron?
Well, the top 10%, you can usually find them living in the same neighborhoods, and it's usually the wealthiest neighborhoods in your area, and they're pretty quiet. A lot of times you don't know that they're wealthy if you see them around town. Um, but they're hard to approach because they're very protective of themselves and what they've accomplished. So a lot of times you have to go through, you call it the back door, but you have to find somebody that knows them that you know and get them to introduce you to them or what you do in a very, very subtle way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is subtle fishing. I know I'm talking about a fairly challenging subject, but if you could see how much it opens the door. I mean, I wish Jose had gotten in here tonight with us, because a year ago he still had not found that wealthy patron, but last year he did. And it is just opening up all kinds of avenues of opportunity for him, plus tremendous, tremendous income now. And he's starting to meet the relationships with that wealthy Texas patron. And that's how it works. You've always heard, you know, it's not what you know, but who you know. Isn't that? I mean, I know you've all heard that. But how do you make that? I mean, Joni's questions are, how in the world do I find them, and where the hell are they? And hopefully the next two sessions will also add to our ability to not only find them, but then how in the world do I begin to approach them? I implied one suggestion last night, and that was a charity fundraising benefit. I used to sell my carved eggshells at charity fundraising benefits for hospitals. It was really easy for me to find out who's building the next big hospital. It was usually easy for me to find out who's in charge of that. They always have all kinds of fundraising efforts to raise enough money to build that new hospital. And there's nothing but stupid doctors around when they do those kinds of art shows and wine tasting festivals and fairs. And I would just, that was like a fishing hole from hell for me. I just knew the language. I learned how to kind of present myself in those situations. And I could just slam dunk it, because that's the group that then pay for the building of that new hospital. I showed you the fundraising wine tasting festival in Park City, a big ad in the Park City magazine. Now, the easiest way to kind of begin your efforts here is to find what really wealthy resort is close to you. There's usually 2 or 3. Hopefully you can find 2 or 3 resort areas that are within 500 miles of you, okay? And you may have to reach out a little bit further, but we have Park City, Sun Valley, Jackson Hole, Aspen, Sundance. Anything I'm missing, Tam? I can't think. Anything else? Every one of them have a really elegant magazine that promotes that community. Every one of them. They got the Park City magazine, they got the Sundance magazine, they got the Sedona magazine. And if you'll start getting the issues, literally sign up, spend $15 and get you a subscription to that magazine that's closest to you, that is where these people play. Where they play is when they spend their want money. Okay? Just because you find where they live doesn't necessarily mean that's a good fishing hole for you. So there's some really rich. Yeah, go ahead.
Can do is locate the private golf clubs, or private yacht clubs, or private gun clubs, fishing clubs, and
And they
find
all
out
raise money or
find out
participate.
who the managers are, and become friends with the managers. Because
How
the
come that
managers
works?
know everybody.
Bingo.
You're sliding in the side door.
If there's anybody that can let you in the back door, it's the manager that likes you, right?
That's right.
Ron, you want
Especially
to
if they
tell
find out what you know.
Ron? Tell them what you heard about the new golf sensation.
The new what?
Golf sensation.
Oh, I saw an ad on TV. Now, this isn't new to me because Ken Brown has been doing it for years. But I saw an ad on TV of a golf club manufacturer, and in their ad, they mentioned that if you buy our clubs, we personalize them for you for free. And I'm thinking, all right, somebody finally just caught on to a concept that has been done by people in the network for years.
Yeah. Yeah, Ken is great. He's famous for opening up new golf courses, new resorts, and he will be there to engrave. And the money he makes at those events usually goes to some charity, or a part of that money goes to some charity. But yeah, Ken's been doing it for a long time. And when I've talked to people about their beginnings and saying, well, what should I do? Don't make the decision just because it sounds like it'll make money. Please stay with your areas of interest. Don't move away from what you love the most. Let's take what you love the most, and I kind of have invested your whole life in already. If you're a Jeep, four-wheel Jeep nut, then let's make that great passion in your life your business. So you can write off everything that you do with that business. If you're a shotgun nut and a sporting clays nut, the son of the psychiatrist that I was talking to, his sporting clays crazy, and he already says, Dad, you got to do my shotgun. I want my shotgun done. Well, what happens when his son shows up at his sporting clays event with his gun done, and everyone else's $10,000 shotgun isn't done? Bam! All of a sudden, you got yourself an opportunity. Now, that sporting clays group, I guarantee you, will do a fundraiser, charity, benefit, something every year. And the second you start playing with that crowd who do that kind of thing, they have the money. They're in that top 10% category. Jose started working with the Colt Collectors Association, and they do an auction every year to raise money to help keep the association going. And some wealthy person steps up and pays 30 grand every year for that gun. And Jose offered to do the case, the display case for it, and that got him in the door. So those kind of things, and you can't do it just one time. You got to hit it, and you got to hit it, and you got to hit it, and you got to hit it again. Because that's what makes the difference. Elena just snuck in there. By golly, you made it. Elena, good to have you here tonight, babe. This is the time when we talk about questions and concepts that we presented last night. So if you got a question or anything, raise your hand and I'll open up the mic and we'll go at it. What?
She's muted. She has
Oh yeah, she's not got her mic on yet, but she's just being polite because that's how we usually do it. Till you talk, then turn your mic on when you want to say something. Lance, I want to compliment you for a second because I think of all we're working with and involved, you're really making tremendous progress right now. I want to compliment you on how you've set up your presentation of your screen. You got an incredibly good-looking backdrop behind you now, and it's going to help with when you start doing presentations like Ron is doing now in other people's lives. Having a more professional-looking circumstance is going to really help you. You've just incorporated your business, and
Yes.
you've made some pretty serious progress this year. Got a little money in the bank finally. Does upscale marketing, has this pushed some buttons for you? Because this isn't the first time you've been through this session with me.
Pushes more buttons every time and this is probably more than any, but it's got it's kind of like that old saying: if you want big fish, you got to use big bait or the right bait.
Boy. He's even caught props now, guys. That's just not even
That's
fair.
what I thought about when you said you're after the big fish. I thought, well, you know, I've always figured you got to have the right bait.
I gotta do that. I'm gonna find me a blow-up shark that's as big as this damn room. All that.
This isn't a prop. This is a lure I use for bass. If you want big bass, feed them a little trout.
Yeah,
they love it.
Absolutely, that's how the theory goes.
But it's kind of the same thing. There's right bait. You know, you can know what you're gonna. It seems to me you can know who you want to be after, but you got to make sure you've got something to show them they're going to be. You know, you're up to the level that they're going to be interested in. So I mean, for a long time, I don't think I was there, and I think it's that's kind of important too.
We don't know what we don't know, and that's the battle zone for all of us moving into this. When I did my first events, I didn't have a flippin' clue. I've been dentist for 8 years. I had no idea how to do any other business, and that's true for all of us. And even when we think we know, I'm more afraid of somebody that thinks they know how to make business work and are super confident going into this. Tammy, you've talked to a lot of people who are getting ready to buy a system. Isn't the person who's overconfident a little more scary to deal with than the average person?
I'm not sure she heard you.
Not sure she heard me.
Or she's trying to get the mic off or on, I guess.
Now the answer is for absolutely certain. I know what she'll say. It's just hard. When I meet them at a show, they're pretty arrogant. They've done business before. They start lecturing me pretty quickly. And I just sit back and go, if you buy our package, the odds are really high it won't work for you because you've got your mind already made up.
Yeah.
So just the fact that you know there's a lot to learn and you've got the nature and the ability to learn, you've learned probably as much this year as you have in the entire process, haven't you?
Yeah, I think so. And you know, with some of the shows I've been doing, I'm learning that some aren't going to work. You know, it's just because I'm trying to get them at the wrong place. For example, if I'm working at a shotgun shoot, percentages, a lot of the people I do talk to, you know, it's good, but I don't get as much, I don't talk to as many people because they're busy shooting. There's probably the same type of client. There's got to be a couple other places to talk to them besides that, because I'm sold on the fact that those are the type of people.
At the shoot, you know what I'm watching for the most at a shoot? The media is always there. Someone representing a magazine or a television show.
Exactly, yeah.
At those shoots, and so if you can target that person and pull them into your life, then the trip was worth it.
I agree with you there, because that if you can find that, you get the right shoot, because you know you're not going to have 150 people talking to you over the course of the day.
It's not the person that's got their cell phone out snapping pictures. It's the person that's got the killer camera set up and they're shooting pictures.
Yeah.
Just be careful. Nowadays, anybody can shoot a picture or a video, but no, they're coming, they're fulfilling a magazine or they're trying to promote something and somebody's paid them to be there. And so that's then who you're looking for and who you're after while you're at those events. And you just never know. Jay, you do motorcycle events. Can you tell, you've been at it now for a couple of years, can you tell when someone's pretty well off at a motorcycle event? Or is it still hard?
Sometimes, you know, sometimes it's real easy to tell. Other times, I mean, it's hard. You know, even with the way they talk.
Yeah.
You know, it's really hard to tell until maybe later on you actually see them on their bike and see what kind of bike they're riding and what they've done to fix it up, personalize it.
They go over and walk in a $2 million motorhome. You can usually rest assured that they got a little money in their life. But it's hard to tell.
With a lot of your bike rallies, though, you will see even some of the more well-off people that show up at them will pitch a tent.
Yeah.
and sleep in a tent during the rally.
Yep. You just can't outguess it. I used to run around with Woody Searle a lot, and Woody had more money than he knew what the hell to do with. But he was as redneck as they come, and he liked being that way. And so you could easily misjudge him. And Jack's the same way. Jack has all the status around him, and so you kind of sort it out a little bit. But most people I introduce to him don't have a clue that he's as wealthy as he is. They just don't even have a clue. So there again, you still have to say, okay, who they hang out with. Ron hit it pretty close tonight when he was talking about the fact that they hang out with each other. They go golfing together, they do dinners together, they have golfing trips, airplanes, hunting trips. This one buddy of mine has a couple of $100 million, and he goes hunting up to, well, all over, mostly to Alaska, but he takes all his friends and relationships with him. And his guns are $100 grand a piece.
Well, should we feel sorry for them that they're friends with you?
What?
I said, should we feel sorry for them that they're friends with you?
Yeah. You could
It's who they hang out with now.
You could have talked all night, Mel, and not brought that up. Where's his delete button? I'm going to fix your clock, Jules. Tammy, did you get your microphone fixed, lady? Are you able to get on at all? Her poor computer is just there you are.
You cut out so much that I didn't hear the question that you asked me earlier.
Okay, I ask you if when you're talking to someone who's thinking about buying a kit, can you begin to sense whether they're going to be easy to teach how to do this and turn it into a business, or have they pretty much got their mind already made up?
Oh, I can tell.
Tell quickly, can't you?
Yeah, I can tell. Yeah, just doing the demo with them, you can pretty much tell if they are willing to listen to you, and as you show them how to use the equipment. And yeah, it's very easy to tell, but I certainly didn't know that in the beginning. It's taken me years to do that. However, I had an advantage because I dealt with well-to-do customers in my mother's store.
Oh, that's right. Tell them about your mom's store and their background there.
She
Not
sold.
everyone knows that story.
My mother had a China store. She sold all the major brands of crystal silver in China and had beautiful gifts. Royal Doulton, Capodimonte. We did not sell Yardro, but we did, Hummels back in the day weren't really all that big a deal, and now they are. But Wallace, Grand Baroque is my favorite there. I have more dishes in my house than I have anything else, and beautiful ones too. In fact, Mel and I were on a hangout the other day, and I took the camera. Well, I was on the phone, and I showed him all the plates around my office. So I'd be embarrassed to tell you how many sets of dishes I have.
As the customers would come in, you had to begin to learn how to fish that individual crowd. There's the person that wants the nicer stuff but can barely afford it, and then there's the others that can walk in and without a blink, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, it was a really fun thing for me to put the whole place setting out and switch it out and explain the pattern, how old it was, about the silver, so on and so forth, and then have them say, I want 12 place settings of Grand Baroque. That was a kick in the pants. I'll tell you for sure. That was fun.
That made it really, really satisfying. I told them, Tammy, about the weekend that when we were having lunch and Buffy mentioned that James Goodman had misjudged the sculpture that he was selling.
Is that not the saddest thing? Oh my God, it broke my heart.
Writing out a check for 40 grand, and he reminded them that it was only 4,000. and they literally were so upset they didn't buy even a
Yeah, they
quarter.
turned around and they looked at him like he had two heads, turned around and walked away. Is that not just the saddest thing you've ever heard?
If that doesn't haunt you about your pricing problems
No,
for the rest of your life, I just going,
it just
oh,
hurt.
and then you can't just, I don't think you can chalk that up to just misfortune. That still is not learning to trade well. That's what that whole thing represents, is knowing how to trade well.
Do you know the one thing that is, it's a mental.
She was going to say mentality. What do you bet? Are you back?
$20,000, and he couldn't do it. When you grow up, and I grew up not affluent by any means, and my mother was alone until I was about 14, 15 years old, and she married my stepdad. And when you grow up with a hand to mouth, so to speak, let's just kind of put it that way, you have that mentality stuck in your head. And when you are working at the upscale crowd, you have to get that mentality out of your head. You can't think that $5,000 is a lot of money, because $5,000 to them is not a lot of money. That's pocket change. But to you, it's a lot of money. And it was very hard for me to kind of get that, move over to that spot. And I think that's when you've coached Darwin, when you've coached Craig, when you've coached Keith, all of them, you've coached them all, and trying to get that mentality out of their head has been one of the hardest struggles you have. Don't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, because unless you can shift the gears here, the odds go way down that you can actually make a difference right here and what you can put in the bank. And Woody and Jack in my life were my mentors, and both of them were the best two traders that I ever freaking met in my life. I mean, they were just, I would not want to go up against them trading anything. Both of them. They're just, it's just so hard for you to get out of a trade with those two what you want. And it'll end up feeling like, because it'll be a deal, you'll be finishing the deal and say, okay, that's what it's worth and that's what it is. But my God, it's just hard, because they have one track mind on how this is going to work, and then it's either okay or it's not. Remember, I talked last night about the fact that if you push me quickly, the answer is going to be no. If you need an answer now, Jack's, that's his, I hear that. If Lou, if the answer is now, it's going to be no. So the idea of how in the hell then do you meet these people, and then how do we gradually influence the relationship to the point we can start trading with them? And remember last night I talked about the wheels of friendship, business, the wheels of business turn on the wheels of friendship. So making a friend out of them is just huge. When I tried to approach Malcolm Forbes, most of you know Malcolm Forbes, the editor of Forbes magazine. Malcolm is the #1 Fabergé egg owner in the world, the Czar's eggshells that were done by Fabergé. And I got the harebrained idea that if he liked what I was carving, that might go a long ways to help me out. I can't remember exactly what happened, but there was something in the news, and so I carved an eggshell, and I had to call Forbes magazine a half a dozen times to find the right person, but I finally got to his personal secretary. And I got a chance to visit with her a minute, and I says, I've got a unique gift coming to Malcolm Forbes, and it's a thank you for what he did and was in the news, but I need to have it presented when it gets there. It's going to come with a container, the package, the glass covering in one package, and then the sculpture in the other. I didn't tell her it was an eggshell. I just told her it's going to be a sculpture in the other, and I need you to take the sculpture out of the box and put it in the glass dome first, and then present it to him so it's displayed better. Would you be willing to do that for me? Now, I call that the second-handed compliment. When you involve someone else who has access to Malcolm Forbes, then they get to give them something. Indirectly, it was her giving it to him. And that woman got so excited, she was just thrilled to interact with. She called me 2 or 3 times to make sure she had it right. And then the day that the eggshell showed up and she opened it up, she just had a heart attack. She didn't even dare touch it. And so she's on the phone with me again. Oh, now what do I do? You didn't tell me what was coming. And so I made a friendship with her. And I guarantee a friendship with the secretary and assistant of the person that you're trying to reach is just priceless. You can't have a better. That's like getting the key to the vault. And so it worked. I mean, it worked unbelievably well. And I got just a killer letter back from Malcolm Forbes, and he basically said, he says, I think what you're doing is neat as sliced bread, and he says, when you're ready, I'll lay New York at your feet. The problem is he died a little too soon, and I never got to pull that card into my life. But it taught me a lot about threading the needle. If you tell yourself there's no way I'm going to get to these wealthy people, then you're stuck, you're done, you're toast already. If you'll tell yourself, you know what, God damn it, I'm going to figure this out. There's got to be a way for me to get through to one, because you don't need but one. Do you see how one wealthy patron will lead you then to their whole, and they love helping you. Once you're their artist, then they'll do everything to help sustain your future and help you go from there. Is that right, Mel?
But Lou, once you make a friend of them, don't think about money. Don't even think about it. Just be their friend.
To begin with, for sure. The relationship's more important.
Yeah, like I teach my childhood friend, he inherited a hell of a lot of money, and I don't care.
Yeah, we're just pals. That doesn't make him any better than you.
I'll take him to the hardware store and show him some really neat stuff that, oh yeah, he's got to have. Then he starts complaining about having to sneak it in the house. I said, well, you know, I just love spending your money. But it's a joke. You know,
well, I think it's such an interesting discussion, because if you go read Affluent Marketing has been published and out on the marketplace for a long time. And most who are in real estate, anybody selling the wealthy crowd a need, that book is quite a good primer. But when I started going through it and started looking at the difference between trading a wealthy person something they want as opposed to something they need, I think that's huge. That is the difference. That's the fishing hole that we're after, is what does a well-off person actually want rather than need. And so what I try and do is watch the magazines. I still think the only really good avenue for a wealthy person is through exposure in one of the major magazines that they like to read. And so that will be the next sessions that we do, is how in the world can I get access to those kind of people that way.
Well, it's like if Lance would do a gun show and somebody walks up and said, well, how much do you charge for a carving like that? And let's say he says $5,000. The guy would ask, well, why should I pay you $5,000 for that? You say, well, you don't have to, because he doesn't have the money anyways.
Yeah, automatically.
He's trying to get away from you.
Isn't it a
Yeah,
challenge?
the one that walks up and says 5,000. Well, hell, that's a bargain at half price. You know he's got the bugs.
Totally different way of thinking, completely different way of thinking, and they usually show that fairly quickly. They demonstrate their power. They like you to know they're well off and that they're capable. The worst thing you could do is Woody Searle was tell him, you probably can't afford it. God, he had $5,000 in his pocket every time we went out. He had $5,000 in his pocket.
Was so rude.
What?
I say I've never known anyone that has that kind of money that was rude. That was that kind of.
There's a couple of them.
That rudeness.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think most of them are pretty decent folks. People without money can often be a lot worse.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're out west when you're doing something like a gun show and somebody walks up, look at their feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
See what they're wearing on their.
That's a good indicator.
You know, Lou, everybody needs to go to the what's the show in Reno that we went to?
The Safari Club.
Safari Club.
I
have never in my life seen anything to equal that. These ladies needed wheelbarrows to haul their hands in with the jewels and the furs and the shoes and the handbags. Luke kept trying to shove my chin up because my mouth was open. I've never seen anything to equal that in my whole life.
What I was referring to, anybody that will walk up to your booth wearing $600 and $700, $800 pair of boots as footwear.
They can afford whatever you got.
They can afford whatever you want.
Yeah. And
Lou, look at their wrist.
Look at their what? Your computer froze up, Tam. I don't know what you said there.
It does all the time. I get half of it. I said, look at their wristwatch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, they're awarded $40,000 Rolex that their son just gave them.
Yeah, yeah. My point.
Oh, God. His Jack's son gave him 2 Rolexes last week, and I don't know how much the second one was worth, but the one was worth $40,000. He let me put them on and try them on, and he says, "I've got a really good boy," and I thought, "You got a really good boy." He give Dad a couple of wristwatches that are that expensive. It's just clear out of my zone. I just can't even imagine that. But that's the world he and his son played. So it's still so significant that you make up your mind you're going to improve your personal position by doing a better job with marketing upscale. Aim a little higher. It's the theme of this whole 5-part series. I was thinking about it this morning that it doesn't take any more effort to go after one really rich client than it does to try and deal with 13 or 14 poor people. It's just, and it's hard to say it the way because it sounds so poor in the position of the economy, and everybody says, "Oh, that's not fair. I want to sell to everybody." And I'm going, well, then start. You can't trade what we do, this high-end personalization, with a person who's struggling to pay everything they need. You cannot. They can't afford it. Even if you could talk them into it, you'd be doing a disservice to them. And then if you say, well, I'm going to charge what's fair and sell it and trying to participate in interaction with a customer like Jack Solomon, you're not going to get anywhere. He bought Greg Woodard's piece, the year after he won the world, he bought Greg's Falcon for $24,000. And if Greg had won the world championship the second year, he would have only gotten $20,000 for it. And I just told Jack it was worth 50. And now, what's it worth? Okay? He's the most winning world champion in history. And you just sit there and go, man alive, anything Greg Woodard does now, and he puts his name on anything, is just worth solid gold. Because he can't pick up a single issue of Southwest Art Magazine and not see Greg in there somewhere. And Gary Price as well. So to me, that's what you're trying to say is, well, I got to get in that crowd and then use that as ammunition to begin to grow my own name and reputation, because that then will now be branding is our next sessions we're going to do after upscale marketing. And personal branding is that. Growing the power, blowing the wind underneath the wings of your own name and reputation is just absolutely nothing more important. Nothing more important.
Lou.
Yeah, Tony.
You're going to laugh at this, but I have an idea of how I might be able to meet this group of or they all have their rifles and guns, and they go to this one place and they practice shooting and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was just wondering if I was, excuse me, if I was to take a couple of my gun stocks that I've already made, done, and wrap them up some way, and go in there and pretend that I'm looking for this other friend of mine that said he was going to come over here today to shoot, and I wanted to bring him these stocks to look at, and all I'm going to be doing is making a way for maybe, let me see that, yeah, you did that, blah 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 blah. I wonder if that would be an in, because the guy that I was going to have look at him, that is just a fictitious person.
Mm-hmm. Okay, anybody want to take a shot at answering Joni? And then I'll finish off. What do you think, Ron?
Well, I wouldn't, because if they find out or they question you and they determine that there's nobody there that you're looking for, you'll never get in there again.
I concur.
That's a really risky approach, Joni. It really, I'm in the same ballpark. You just can't take a chance on getting nailed with the fact that you kind of hustled your way in the door.
Yeah.
They will undoubtedly.
I can't hear. What did you say?
Go ahead, Ron.
I was going to say she'd be better off going up to the person that manages the gun club or the shooting range, show them what you do and say, is there any way that I can present these to the people that are here that might want their gun stocks carved, and that's what I do. And that's a way to approach that one, I think.
Somebody manages that shooting club, Joni. Somebody manages it, and that's who you need to see first and say, I would like to be a vendor at this club somehow. Tell them you want to become a vendor. What do I have to do to get in a position? This is what I do, and you can take samples to that person. Make an appointment. Don't just walk in. Probably the biggest single card underneath the entire upscale marketing is you got to make appointments here, gang. You can't just shoot from the hip with these guys. This is just, you're invading their space and their time, and if you get caught messing with it, they'll cut your head off. I've watched this happen too many times.
Lou, my brother spends a lot of time at the gun range, and they do have shooting contests, and they have a lot of just target time, and you have somebody come in and interrupt them, they very well could bite your head off.
They're not kind.
Not when you interrupt their shooting time and they're getting ready for a competition. And my brother's clientele is like Senator Hatch. He takes Senator Hatch down to the shooting range all the time. Secret Service people. I mean, dignitaries.
How do you teach a senator to shoot straight? They don't know anything but curveballs.
That is a
Or-
very good point.
Isn't that a great
I don't
observation?
know. Yeah, that's a
You
great observation.
Call Bruce and ask him. Will you see?
I will. That's a good. You ask him. Yeah.
Well, that's why the military developed those guns that they can shoot around corners with.
Oh,
Senators.
it's just for senators, huh?
All politicians.
Lou?
Period.
Politicians all carry one now. That's what Jay said. Yeah, Ron.
A lot of times those gun clubs, they have a monthly meeting, and the guy who manages it, you might be able to get to do a presentation at their monthly meeting. They'll carve out enough time for you to do it and to present what you do, and that would be another good thing to try.
That's a good idea.
Okay. Now, Joni, what you've done is target something mentally that sounds like, hey, this feels like kind of an opportunity. And what I've learned in business is the really smart thing now is to get you one place where you write that down and stick it on your wall and say, I'm going to approach this group with my carved guns and see if I can't generate some business. Because they're the ones who would likely want something done. But you got to get in the door.
Right.
So then what you do is let the ideas cook for a little while. Finish this class with me now, and then look for everything, write down tonight everything that's been suggested of what maybe you could do, and then let it sit for a while. Don't just jump on it. Really think it through. The odds are really high that when you start thinking about this direction, you'll be somewhere else at dinner or at the restaurant or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the blue, somebody will say, you know what, I belong to this shooting club. An opportunity will just walk right in the damn door in a way that because you're looking for some avenue, some way to work that out. And to me, it's just amazing how often I would be working over here and then all of a sudden, good Lord, opportunity would just crash through the door and make it all possible. So try that. Let's really zero in on that group and see if there isn't some way that you can begin tomorrow. Try and find out who manages that group.
Yeah.
Let's see if you can't see who the manager is, and then let's talk about that in next week's session and see if there's a good way to approach that kind of person.
Okay.
Okay? Everybody see that?
Sounds like a good idea.
Lance, you got a concept? Yeah. Open your mic up.
I had an opportunity that just kind of hit this week with a chapter of the Safari Club International that it's a different direction than what I was thinking, so I'm just not sure if it's good or bad. So but it's something for 2 or 3 months from now. But I was thinking about doing something on one of their guns, for example, and and what they do is you got to donate something, and they give you a table at the. And a certificate wouldn't be bad,
No,
to get in front of somebody.
I
Just a gift certificate, but they're wanting $1,000, and I'm going, yeah, I could do $1,000 worth of certificate, sure. That's not a problem because that won't cover the whole deal.
Yeah. I occasionally I'll have someone when we start talking about this kind of potential, and they object to the fact that they got to do something and then not get paid to do it. And I'm going, you apparently have never had to pay for advertising. Pam, what's your advertising? What's been our advertising bill at times with Profitable Hobbies? I'll tell you. We've spent as much as $15,000 to $30,000 a month in advertising. When we finally got to the point where we could do that, we would just push it like hell. And it's the most expensive thing any business has. So you get asked by Safari Club and they say, well, help us raise a little money so we can pay for our bills. You give us a donation. We can auction that off, and then we give you a table space. Are you kidding me? What's
Seems like
the
a good
table
deal.
space? If the table space you buy it, Lance, you've seen what it costs yet?
No, I haven't. They don't offer it that way.
When
You got to
go-
donate to get it, so I'm sure it's big bucks. Now this is this is an individual chapter. This isn't one of the big shows. This is an individual chapter. But it's one of the main chapters in the country.
Just hold your breath. I'll warn you right now. It is staggering what they charge.
The price for that table is a minimum of $1,000.
Exactly. That's what I'm paying for it, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Easily. And likely more than
and that's the minimum that you could to do this.
Really
that's why I thought it probably seemed like a good idea. I would just wondering what everybody else thought, because it seemed positive to me, but then again, sometimes I jump at something that maybe isn't.
Well, something like that, I mean, is always positive. One, it gets you out in front of the public.
Right.
Two, it's getting your name and what you do out there. By putting up, $1,000 worth of certificates, whatever, if somebody gets some work done, you're not actually having to put any money out of your own pocket.
Nope.
Just some time.
Gas to get there. That's it.
Yeah. Other than to get there, it's just like some of the motorcycle events that I have done. They were fundraisers, and for me to be there, they wanted me to do some kind of donation.
Sure.
And with most of them that I do, they would tell me, "Hey, we've seen your work. Could you, donate maybe a certificate for cover, or could you do like a 4 set of mugs, with our logo or something on, or something nice, for motorcycles that they would auction off." So that's what I would do. It gets my name out there. It gets me known. I get to set up my table with everything else that I do. And I'm not having to dish out a lot of money out of my pocket to be there.
So who can tell me what the 3 words you never forget in world marketing?
Exposure is one of them.
And all 3 of them.
Exposure. Lance is finally getting it here, bud. And free is good. Free exposure is really, really good.
It's really good.
When you don't have enough money to write out that great big advertising check, then free is just damn near. Now,
that's what I thought.
Next week's show is rainmaking. Do you think we're going to talk about this subject next week?
Probably.
Probably. Maybe.
Hey, Lance?
Yeah.
If you get that spot and get that table, do yourself a favor. Take a continuous running DVD of the YouTube videos that you made. Don't have the sound running, but have them, have a DVD running of you doing the carving so that it runs continuously, that they can look at it as they're walking by.
Yeah.
Way to go, Ron. Way to go.
Some visual activity.
About that.
Can you carve at the show too? What I like to do is have a pattern nearly done.
I don't think that there'll be a problem.
Turn the drill on just enough to attract the crowd, and then when the crowd comes, you drill off. And just use it to pull people your way has always been deadly.
Well, to do
everyone knows
and there's going to be more, you're going to be going toward, this is going to be an auction, what I put in there, so, you got to get some sort of interest before this thing starts, so that would be the way to do it.
Mel's trying to show us something.
Yeah.
Okay, what I have in my hand is a digital projector.
Okay. I'm guessing that's the back of it.
There's the projection lens.
Okay. Oh, good grief.
Is that the coolest thing? Haven't they miniaturized all of that?
Up to, what's the name on that? I couldn't, it's kind of...
Optoma.
Optoma.
O-P-T-O-M-A.
And what are you doing with that? You have it going behind you, against the wall behind you, or how do you do that?
Yeah,
That looks like a...
I've got a whiteboard set up on an easel,
Mm-hmm.
and this sitting on a tripod, or a little tripod, and have it projecting on the whiteboard.
That's an interesting piece of equipment there.
Why don't you take a photograph of that and post that on Google Plus tomorrow?
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
see.
If not tomorrow, it'll be Saturday or Sunday sometime.
Well, yeah, no. When you get a chance, just put that up, because everybody who's watching the show is probably going to be interested. What
Is
does
there a
a unit
model on
like
that
that
one?
cost now? What does that run?
Oh shit, I forget.
Shit's a round number. We don't know for sure what that number really means in shelf life. So
Take a couple of pictures, Mel, so we can see it at the front side and the back side and all that kind of stuff.
Here's the box.
there's the box right there. Okay, hang on. Just hold it one more second, and I'll just snag it right now. Okay, I've grabbed a couple of pictures of it, so we'll see how that turns out.
Model number and the whole bit.
Okay.
And
The
it's
thing that's so helpful is that all of you who are thinking about teaching eventually, because that's where we're taking this. The other half of the business is when you start teaching people how to do what you've learned how to do. And then that device is really going to be helpful. I used the old Kodak slide projectors. I can't tell you the thousands of dollars I spent making slides and doing compressor or slide carousels and every damn thing on earth, and this just takes the place of all of it.
Yeah.
Pull it back just a little, Mel.
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah, that seems to be a little sharper. I think that'll get it. Okay. So it's got a ton of options. And that works right off your laptop?
You can work it off your laptop. You can hook a flash drive into it.
Oh.
Where it runs off a flash drive.
Cool.
You know, just about anything. Set it up as a slideshow. You can set it up as a where it's running a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much anything, and it just fits in your damn pocket.
Cool. Yeah, cool. That's just an incredibly good concept.
Now, slip that puppy into his pocket.
Right there.
Does that have a good battery life, Mel?
In the last half hour, we've covered a half a dozen different ideas that should really help you guys to do a better job of your marketing. But what you want to do is this targeting. Rethink what you're doing in the business. Don't settle for Mickey Mouse stuff that's just trying to trade with your neighbors and friends. Sit down and sharpen the saw. Take a freaking bazooka now and let's just aim a little better and up your aim. Because that wealthy crowd is out there. And that wealthy crowd's spending ability doesn't change with the economy. They still, even when things go south, Teresa Hines still has more money than all the rest of us put together, and they do spend it constantly. And the whole goal now is to interact and try and develop your skills and ability to interact with the little better client, who then will eventually become a repeat customer, which is a patron or a friend. Okay? You're not trying to sell them one thing, you're trying to sell them over and over and over and over again. And that's what I call the thank you business. Every one of them have lots of thank yous in their life. Okay, says what? I got a notice from Google, and I don't know what that means. I've got some other things I need to do, and my sister and her husband are not got their evening meal yet, and I need to cover that base.
Wow. Well, that's pretty amazing.
It is right there. Isn't that cool? Look at that.
Lou?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll just throw a couple of quick things in real quick, and then I'll shut up. One of the things that I do at a lot of the bike shows, I have just a small USB webcam that I take with me, and I'll take a second monitor and set it out on my table. So while I'm actually working on something for somebody, the webcam is aimed right over the top of my workstation.
Yeah,
so people walk up, they hear the drill going, and then they can watch on that monitor and see exactly what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And then all the guy you were talking about, you were talking to Johnny about, kind of finding a back door into things. One of my, I guess that'd be a patron now because they're definitely a returning customer. One of the custom bikes that I worked on all summer. They invited me just to, go to a bike show last month. They said they had some people they wanted to introduce me to that had seen my work and stuff. They took me around and introduced. I got to meet the 5 largest custom builders within a 5-state area. I was personally introduced to each one of them.
Oh yeah, that's the whole.
It's,
Amen.
you know,
We just covered the
like
whole
you said, sometimes you got to find somebody that knows somebody to get to where you want to be.
Is that not what we've been talking about? The whole thing. They will open the door for you because they can. Remember, my third position in the show last night was they will open the door for you. They can part the Red Sea, and they love doing it. You've got a relationship started, and that friendship thing that Walt Disney was always talking about, that's the most important element here. Don't think about the money to begin with. Think about the relationship. What can I do to cement the relationship with these people? Ah, Jay, what a great way to put the skids on this show tonight. I think what happens.
Oh, Lance, I got that off of Amazon.
I just looked it up.
It's already there. How
Already
much
on
is it,
another.
Lance? How much is it?
Looks like they got them used for $2.5 or $600 new.
Okay. That's good price range because they're usually quite a bit more than that. So this smaller item is going to be a good one. It's going to be a really good one. All right, troops. Thank you for your participation tonight, everybody. And we're covering some really important ground. Don't give up till this is a part of your thinking. This is your business plan is from as is, where I am now, to better. What can I do this year to enhance the position of my business? And trading better is huge here, guys. There's nothing going to help your bank account more. And I talk about it constantly. Do you want to do 3,000 things for $1, or do you want to do one thing for 3,000? Which makes the most sense? And surely you can figure that out. Okay. It's just
5 for 3,000 each.
Yeah. Well, Mel's always got his own math. We've got to kind of allow for that.
How do you answer somebody that says after you show them a gun or a gun stock and stuff, and they say, "Oh yeah, that's nice. How much do you want for it?"
You give them a price.
All right, Joni, you should have been listening because I told you before. If the first words out of their mouth is price.
Yeah.
What part of the economy are they in?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay?
Yeah.
You don't have to answer that person. It doesn't matter what you say, it's going to be too much. So give them some answer. Tammy and I have learned in selling.
Give them a big answer.
Hell, knock their socks off.
They'll either say yeah or no.
Damn price. It doesn't matter what you say because they're in the bottom half of the economy and the thing they're worried about is the price. And so inadvertently, somehow you're fishing the wrong. That's like trying to, you got a 2-bit little mackerel on, nibbling at your bait, and you're after the 35-pound trout. You don't have to deal with that person well at all because it isn't going to matter.
That was like that guy that came down here to get his glass done from Canada. He asked, what would he get for $600? So I emailed him a black line drawing. And next thing, the email I got was, can I come down next week?
Yeah, Ron.
And he's driving from Canada down to here.
Oh, good Lord, no.
And staying over and all that good stuff.
I didn't even, maybe I might have hit it by, I don't think so, because I have to really go through some hoops to eject you. Rod got in now, so too. So I'm ending the show right now. I'll call you back in a little bit. Okay. All right. All right. I must have. Ron thinks I ejected him out of the show. Yeah, we don't like you anymore, Schneeberger. Just in case you're watching.
Tell him Mike Radoff did it.
Yeah. I could be bought, Ron.
Hiya,
I can put you back in the show. You just gotta cover the base here somehow.
Yeah, you didn't pay your rent.
Yeah, you didn't get the dues. You didn't get the dues, the monthly dues. All right, troops. Good to visit with you tonight. You're all thinking, and that thinking part is enhancing the position of what you're trying to accomplish. Just don't back off now, okay? I'm going to post some things tomorrow about persistence because it still is the ace in the deck of all success. You either hang in there and keep hanging in there and just don't let nothing get in the way, or you back off at every little thing that shows up. And I&E network, you can't back off. This is personal benefit, personal blessing. And if you'll just be more determined in these efforts. In trading, it's like a card game. You learn which cards to play and play those cards individually. Step 4 of opportunity intersection, that whole step 4 is about the 52 cards of the game. And until you memorize those cards and know which card goes down when do I play the ace? When do I play the deuce? When do I play the 4 suit of 4? You just can't trade well until you know how that whole thing works. And I says, how good is it to go to Vegas and not know what the 4 aces are? Does that make any sense to anybody? Hopefully that will begin to say, okay, what I got to do is learn how to trade better. I don't know anything you could do that would benefit your personal circumstance any more than that. Because if you get published and you get into those gun shows and you begin to find ways to market yourself better, it's all the trading process. That's what's going on. You trade well, you'll do better in the marketplace.
Okay.
Unless you're male. Then it's just wide open, whatever. Good night, everybody.
Good night.